Ah, yes, Monday once again, and on this Monday, of course, here on the channel, as usual, it's going to be Countdown Day, and this one is a topic that multiple fans have asked me to do over the course of the last few years since we've been doing these reviews. And with the impending release of Velocitron Speedia 500 Crasher, actually released in some parts of the world as of this recording, as well as recent releases of Road Ranger and Bug Bite, for example, it only seemed fitting that we ask the question, which Gobots characters would you like to see as Transformers? That's going to be the topic of this top 10 countdown list in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey one hail, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe them while you're at it, light them up, baby. That's right, hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor, all of the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links, all of that in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member at any time. And this is going to be the top 10 Gobots characters that fans would like to see become Transformers characters. Very, very interesting voting here. A lot of great names. In our honorable mentions, we have Tux, because a lot of people said, when have we ever had a limousine Transformer? Vamp, Loco, and spac-y. Loco specifically got named because there's not enough trains in Transformers, or at least not enough trains that have been released. You know, Astro Train and the train bots coming out in the MPG line notwithstanding. So those were the honorable mentions. Tux, Vamp, Loco, and spac-y. None of them made the actual list. So who did? Well, you know what we're going to do, man. We're going to do like we do every single week. We're going to kick things off with number 10, our first. And coming in at number 10, we have this guy. That's right, it's Dive. And it's very interesting. The guy turns into a sub, and a lot of people that voted for him said we don't have enough Transformers that turn into subs. In fact, the only one that most people can really think of comes from Transformers Cybertron, and that's Deep Dive, who is part of the Giant Planet Minicon team. Deep Dive kind of got revisioned later using the Voyager Sea Spray mold, so he was no longer a sub. But a lot of people voted for Dive because they said, hey, a submarine transformer. The only other one that we've had is the HMS Alliance from the Last Night movie that never actually transformed. So Dive as a transformer. For those who don't know, it's weird that he was given a submarine mode. Basically, he was given it by the modifier, which is kind of like Gobotron's version of the Well of Allsparks, right? Or Vector Sigma, maybe. When Gobots come off the assembly line, they're given their alt mode and the ability to convert between modes by the modifier. It's as simple as that. And it comes from worlds all over, including Earth. The funny part is that Gobotron really doesn't have any water, so to give Dive an alt mode of a submarine was not in good form. He loves, however, when his skills are called upon and he can help, and he loves when his skills are called upon on Earth because there's actually water and he can get in the water and use his alt mode. Anyway, you cut it. Fans want a submarine transformer. Dive might fill the bill, and he took the number 10 slot. Coming in at number 9 is one of the main, clumsiest thugs of the Renegades, and it's this guy. That's right, it's Copter. Copter. And Copter, it basically turns into a helicopter. He likes using his rotors in his hand to cut things up. I mean, he's a thug, he's a klutz, it is what it is. A lot of people would like to see the kind of Combiner Wars helicopter mold used for this. A couple of people said the Skyhammer movie mold. I'm not sure how that would work for a Copter. Some people even said the Siege, I think it was, Spinister mold. I feel like if you're going to do Copter, the easiest way to do it is a slight remold of the Combiner Wars one with a different head. I think it would be certainly doable. Ideal? Who knows? But certainly doable. Naturally, all of these would benefit from their own original molds in an ideal world. Nevertheless, one of the main 6 Gobots, Copter, takes the number 9 slot. Number 8 takes us to Psykill's second in command, who generally stayed on Gobotron and this character. That's right, it's Vitor. And Vitor turns into a Gobotronic plane, basically. How can I explain his personality? Vitor is to Psykill as Cyclonus is to Galvatron. The loyalty is out of this world, right? Or maybe Vitor is the, Vitor is to Psykill as maybe Shockwave is to Megatron, because just as Shockwave was like Megatron's general on Cybertron, Vitor is largely Psykill's general on Gobotron, right? So it's kind of an interesting relationship. Fiercely loyal, really cool looking alt mode. Vitor takes the number 8 slot, but before I kind of move on, a lot of people that voted for this one did suggest that the mold that could be used as a basis for this would be the Earthrise Conehead mold, specifically the Dirge mold. I can loosely see it. I think that could possibly work. Anyway, cut it. Vitor takes the number 8 slot. Now, number 7 sticks with the core 6 Gobots from the series, and the roughest and the toughest. And if there is a Gobots answer to the Transformers character of Brawn, it would have to be this guy. Yeah, man, Turbo. Turbo was my boy. He was my favorite Gobot. I had the original. I broke his arm off. Was sad for a long time after. I love Turbo. I really, really do. There was a version, a third-party version kind of done of him, maybe by X-Transbots. It was a reuse of a wheelie. I'm saying X-Transbots, but I could be 100% wrong. I can't remember who did it now, but it was a reuse of Wheelie. I don't necessarily think that would work for Turbo. A lot of people have said, you know what would work best for Turbo? A remold of basically the Earthrise Sunstreaker mold, and they point to the spin-out use that was in a 2-pack with Corden as evidence of that, because you know what, with a little bit of alteration, with a little bit of remolding, with a few color changes and a different head, that could have been Turbo. Yeah, I could see it in there. Absolutely. Turbo is cool, Turbo is tough, and Turbo is one that fans want to see as a Transformer character bad enough that he was able to take the number 7 slot. Now, number 6 is a little bit of a cheat, because number 6 is this guy. That's right, it's Puzzler. Now, like, individual groups don't count, but full-on combiners do. And Puzzler is very enigmatic because he has multiple origins. Like, sometimes he's made up of remote control vehicles. Sometimes he's made up by, like, undercover guardians, but usually he's made up from the Puzzler team, who are renegades, so he's a bad guy combiner, and that would include Tic Tac Pocket, Crossword, Rube, Jigsaw, and Zigzag. I wrote them down because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget any of them. So while this would actually include 6 updates within Transformers, in essence what we're looking at is how do we get the combiner. We have had a number of, I guess, Combiner Wars molds. Like, I feel like right now, while a completely new puzzler would be ideal and beautiful, I feel like what would end up happening if we got a puzzler would be some sort of an adapted torso. Presumably it would be some sort of a truck, maybe from like the Defensor or Bruticus mold. And then the limbs would probably be just reuses of the car molds, like the breakdown mold, the light speed or light steed mold, you know, like I feel like that's what would happen. We'd get some remolded there, which wouldn't be a true puzzler. I'd love to see an update to puzzler. I'd love to see all 6 characters done properly. I'd love to see a torso made up of 2 deluxes securely fastened together. Reminds me of an ideal Leozak, if you ask me. But Puzzler, yeah, enough fans want to see Puzzler within the Transformers universe that he was able to take the number 6 slot. And here we are once again at the most coveted of locations, the halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we have a character who is kind of a mix of Bumblebee with a little bit of Wheeljack and some Hound sprinkled in just for fun. And it's this guy. That's right, voiced by the great Frank Welker, whom we all know as the mighty Megatron. We have Scooter, of all characters. Again, one of those core 6, along with Turbo and Copter, right? He's within that core 6 Gobots that, like, you almost quintessentially need if you're a Gobots fan, right? Scooter to me was always like their answer to Wheelie. Like, Scooter was annoying. He wasn't a fighter. He didn't even have blasters. He could make holograms. And there was a time when, like, he tried having blasters, but, like, traded it back in for his hologram ability again. He was more peaceful. He was definitely the brains of the operation rather than the brawn of the operation, right? It kind of, if Turbo is the brawn, then Scooter is the brains, and Leader 1 is the leader. Scooter! Great, great, unique alt mode, too. He took the number 5 slot. Coming in at number 4, we have a character that a lot of people know as Blue Cosmos, but really, she's this. That's right, it's Pathfinder. She is intelligent, she's caring, she's kind, she's highly skilled. She is a strong, strong member in many ways for the Guardians. And while we have had the Blue Cosmos reuse, and that's a fine enough reuse, I suppose, it is highly stylized. And those of us who actually are Gobots fans would really like to have a proper version of her. Naturally, within the Transformers world, since she turns into a UFO, she's gonna kind of default to Cosmos. Maybe if she had a head that was a little more like her traditional head, and maybe if the colors were a little bit more like her traditional colors, fans would be a little bit happier with the Cosmos reuse. I know I would be. If you nailed the head and you gave her the right colors, I could probably accept the stylized body. I was a huge fan of Pathfinder some almost 40 years or so ago. I'm a huge fan of Pathfinder now, and she takes the number 4 slot. Number 3 brings us a character who's maniacal, sadistic, and probably inappropriately obsessed with Turbo. It's this character. Now I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say. Hey, we had Fracture, and that was really Crasher. And coming up in the Velocitron Speedia 500, we have Crasher coming, and I agree with you. I'm right there with you. However, neither of those allow her to turn into her Porsche mode. 956, I want to say. Though we have race car modes for her, they don't look like her actual mode. I feel like, again, not to sound like a broken record like I was with number 4 with Pathfinder, but I feel like if the face, like if you could nail the face, I think people would accept a more stylized body. Like, I think fans would be happier with a use of a Mirage body if the head sculpt wasn't a Mirage head or a slightly modified Mirage head. If it was more of a Crasher head, which is basically a pink face with black glasses, I guess, and like big lips. If you could nail that face, I think you would nail Crasher as a Transformers character. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the trick is in catching the likeness. Anyway, you cut it. Fans, even with the Crashers that's out or up and coming, would still like a proper iteration of the character, and Crasher takes the number 3 slot. And here we are at number 2. So far on this list we've had Copter, and we've had Turbo, and we've had Scooter, and we've had even Crasher. Well, number 2 is this character. That's right, another one of the quintessential 6, if you will. Leader 1 himself. I mean, the leader of the Guardians. Honorable, brave, you know, intelligent, wise, all of those things that a leader should be. Which is kind of funny because a lot of times he got compromised or he was taken over by the bad guys or something like that. Leader 1 is great, but a lot of people that voted for this said, use the Seeker mold. I don't really see that. At least not the main Seekers, because the wings would be up on the shoulders. The wings on this guy should be down on the legs. So when I brought that up to a few people, they said, well, what if you got rid of a cone head, you put on a Leader 1 head, and you used, again, the Dirge mold. That's the one that was brought up, the Dirge mold. And I said, you know what? I think that could work. You'd have to have the correct colors of the gray and black. You would need a head that absolutely is Leader 1. But it could probably work. Naturally, as with all of these on this list, his own dedicated brand new mold would be the best and the most ideal thing. But if you wanted to do a mold reuse and you wanted to find a way to kind of fit the character in, I think you could probably accomplish it with the Dirge mold. You'd probably have to change the shoulder pylons and the head sculpt. Outside of that, might be workable. Anyway, you cut it. Fans would love to see Leader 1 as a Transformer, and he took the number 2 slot. And here we are at the very tippy top, number 1. And at number 1, we have the last of the quintessential 6 with this guy. That's right, it's Psykill. And the only kind of modern update that we've had to Psykill is the Machine Robo version, and a lot of people don't like that. They say that's not a great Psykill. I don't know, I don't have it. When it came up in terms of Transformers, there were 2 molds really discussed as possible uses for this guy. The first was the Legacy RC Road Rocket mold. I think that'd be a shame. I get it. I understand the appeal, and I totally understand how it would work easily, right? He couldn't have his tires on his shoulders, but they could be behind his head. The arms, you know, they would now become the back instead of going down the front. Like his bike mode would be a little more stylized, but it would be workable, so I get it. I think that the one that would be more successful would be a reuse of the Studio Series 86 Voyager class Wreck-Gar junk heap type of mold. Again, the motorcycle would be stylized just because the legs and the way that they fold, you know, the arms would go down front, and you could actually put the 2 tires, if you wanted to, on the shoulders. You could certainly make that happen and work, no problem. Psykill, fans would love to see him as a Transformers character. Maybe see him and Megatron vie for leadership of the combined Renegade and Decepticon forces. Any way you cut it, Psykill took the number 1 slot. And there we are, man, 10 down to 1. We had other votes as well for Bolt, for Zeman, for Bug Bite, for Blaster, for Baron Von Joy, Waterwalk, Destroyer, Thrustor, Bad Boy, another Road Ranger that looks more like Road Ranger, Crane Brain had some votes, Creepy, Heat Seeker, Throttle, Dr. Go. Dr. Go had a vote. I like this one. A Titan class Zod. That would be really cool, man. Magmar. Throw in a Rock Lord. Why not? Some people said, what about Masterpiece Rock Lords? That'd be funny. Fly Traps, Stacks, Spoons. Again, because something like Spoons, for example, how many forklifts do we have, right? In Transformers. Bent Wing, Pincher, Psycho, Spoiler, and Royalty, among some others. So many great characters that so many people have forgotten from yesteryear. Who was your favorite? Did they make the list? I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. While you're at it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, stick around, and have some fun with us here on the channel. You know, don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single solitary day, man, right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.